Greetings and welcome in our ongoing series in the month of May about how to accelerate your storytelling skills. We're going to talk tonight about the most important character in your story. I'm going to share a term that many people have heard, and there's a tremendous amount of confusion around this word. I even hear professional speakers mix this term up. So I'll give you my definition. Hopefully it makes sense to you. In every memorable story, there is a main character. This person is often called the hero. You may be familiar with the hero's journey. Well, the problem with that term, the way I hear it used, even amongst professionals, is sometimes people use that term to describe the individual whose journey we're following from start to finish. And sometimes it's used to describe the person who gives advice and wisdom to that character going through the journey. I hear it interchanged all the time, and that's a problem. I don't want to sound like I'm splitting hairs, but it's a critical point. Hopefully this will make sense by the end of this video. I'm going to use the term main character for the person who's going on this lifetime journey or this start to finish journey that we watch. My definition of the main character is a person who is flawed, who's living his or her everyday life, going along, enjoying life, and then all of a sudden an incident occurs. This experience pushes the main character out of the comfort zone they live in. In this zone of discomfort, what they want to do is get back into their regular everyday life, but they can't. They start to try to solve this new problem they've encountered, and they cannot solve it. And the longer they go, the more frustrated and annoyed and even angry they get. And all they want to do is get back to equilibrium. They can't do it. At some point, another character comes in. The term I use is the guide. This person is called the sage, the guru, different terminology. In some instances, I hear that word hero thrown out. I never use that word for this character. The guide is the one who provides the wisdom, the new perspective, the answers to the problem that our main character is facing. Once the main character has this new knowledge, begins to go down a new path, doesn't solve the problem overnight. That's not realistic. But eventually, over time, with this new insight, this new path in life, eventually the problem is overcome. And by the end of the story, the main character has succeeded, overcome the challenge, and has a new perspective on life. Ultimately, the best stories are about the transformation of this main character. There are many examples from literature going back hundreds of years, favorite movies. The classic example, probably a bit cliche, but since it's my favorite movie, I still go with it, is the original Star Wars. Luke Skywalker is this farm boy who gets thrown into this new circumstance. His family gets killed. He goes on this adventure with this crazy old Jedi. And eventually he wants to become a Jedi Knight. He has to go through these trials of tribulations, almost getting killed. He gains these new friends along the way. And by the end, he blows up the Death Star and he sees the world very differently. He is transformed. For younger viewers who grew up on series like Harry Potter, same way. Young boy, orphan, living with this evil his uncle and aunt, and he's treated very miserably. And then he finds out he's a wizard, and he gets to go to this wizarding school. He's now in this new world. Very difficult for him, big change. He gains new friends, has a lot of challenges. In over 7 movies, we see his transformation, and ultimately he has to face the evil Voldemort. They have the big showdown. I won't give you the end in case you haven't seen it, but Harry's still around. So that is the classic story arc, and it's a reason people spend billions of dollars to buy books and watch movies, because human beings are attracted to that kind of story. As you're putting your story together, this is a really important point for you with regard to the main character and the guide. You can be either one. If you're telling your story in business, for example, of why you got started with your company, why you got into your career, you can be the hero. I'm throwing the word out. You can be the main character who got into this world. It was a change for you, put you into a zone of discomfort. But after a while, you got a mentor, a guide, someone who came in and give you a new perspective. And ultimately, you succeeded in the business. The key to remember is you cannot be both the main character and the guide. You can be one or the other. But if you try to be both, that's where you create a story that people will not believe. If you've ever been to a workshop or a seminar, what comes to mind to me are some of these multi-level companies. Or I've been to some real estate or financial services, big old events where speakers get up there and they talk about how one day they were struggling and then they woke up and they had the answer. And within 30 days, their lives had changed immeasurably. Well, that's a bunch of bull crap. That's not how life works. Yes, they may have gotten the answer. They didn't get it on their own. Nobody succeeds by themselves. We know that. And that's why your story has to show how you had this struggle, or your main character had the struggle. Someone else came in, gave a new perspective, helped them along the journey, changed their direction, ultimately led to their success. So hopefully that helps the definition between the two main people in the story. You can have other characters, but you've got to have this main character who's the flawed person who goes on the journey, and the guide who will come in and solve, or at least give the solution to which this main character will apply and have new experiences, have a new perspective, and succeed. Now, tomorrow we'll talk about a key element of your story involving the main character. But for right now, just think about who's your main character, who could be your guide. We'll see you tomorrow.